Hello, guys, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and of course, I wish you to grow your chess skills, improve a lot more, and actually wish you all the best regarding your chess in 2025. Uh, Now, I'm going to do something that I've never done on this channel. It's going to be a recap of all my Blitz online games with white and black pieces. And basically, I'm about to give you the most instructive mistakes that were played not once, but more than 4, 5, sometimes even 10 to 15 times in my online practice online here. So it's going to be very interesting for you because you know that I mostly face FMs, IMs, and mostly IMs and GMs. And basically, you're going to be able to also see, so this is going to be also good for advanced players, what are the most common bad openings and bad opening mistakes used by these titled players. So let's go. Get ready for something really new and something really refreshing. Well, when I was white, so first we're gonna see when I was white, and then last four we're gonna see when I was black. When I was white, I played e4 most of my games, 950 games with the white pieces, and which means 63% with the white pieces. So I mainly played e4 when I was white, and then my opponents played all kinds of moves. Let's go with the least common thing of all this stuff. It's Pirc Defense with d6. When Pirc Defense was played, I of course used the opening that I taught you here on my channel against Pirc. It's called Mad Dog. So you certainly know that we go d4, knight f6, knight c3, g6. I had 43 games this year against Pirc Defense. I didn't play in every single game Mad Dog. You know, we titled players, we vary and we actually change those kinds of things. So I went for the Mad Dog, bishop g7, and played my favorite bishop c4, queen e2, which is nothing else but a Mad Dog with the white pieces. So what happened? In 18 games, I had short castle by black, and that was majority of answers by black players. Then I always played e5, and after e5, I had 7 games for both 98 and knight f to d7. I just want to tell you that 98, I played 7 games and I had 7 wins with the bishop g5. It's so nice because you never can. First of all, you have lots of problems because I'm threatening e takes d6 and I'm threatening on e7, and you cannot even play h6 because I take on d6. This is how I won 2 games. So it's very nice. It's already, according to the engine, more than +1, and it's a very, very nice and big advantage for white. Also, I had 7 games with knight f to d7, where you just push your pawn to e6, and it's very important to remember, if they take, you don't take on e6, but you play knight f3. Most of my opponents in like 5 games played like this. You take and play knight f3 no matter what. Of course, that I managed to win most of my games. Of course, sometimes you lose, sometimes you're not have like the best concentration, but here I just scored well. But I'm not showing you this because of these lines. I just wanted to remind you that if queen e2, I just played like 18 games against short castle. That's the most common answer, where we push e5, and that I had both knight f to d7 and knight e8, 7 games, and on knight f to d7 I played e6, on knight e8 I played bishop g5. But I'm actually showing you this because of another thing. Why it's called Mad Dog? Because of the following line with the knight c6. I played 6 times and I had 100%. So I played e5, they captured. This is one of those lines where you give up queen for 3 pieces. I played knight e2, they always took this pawn, otherwise I would play bishop h6, played bishop h6, and played long castle. It's very interesting that in these games my opponent went for bishop e6, I captured, and then I played h4, not because I want to play h5, but because I want to stop g5 followed by rook g6, where black would go after the potentially weak bishop on h6, of course, until we play h4. After we play h4, our position is good. So after like queen d7, we now go with rook h2 e1. And look at this. I had 6 games this year like this. And my opponents went for long castle always. You cannot even imagine how they actually stress out and how they actually feel good when they finally make castle and say, I made a castle, now it's gonna be nice and easy game. Well, it's not gonna be nice and easy game. You can't push this pawn. You can't put any of these rooks on the open e file, f file. And when we play knight f4, threatening this, it's very funny that I had in 4 games e5. I found that out from one game from Grandmaster Kinderman from Germany or Austria, I'm not sure where was he from. And basically Kinderman in this game played rook takes e5. That's how I learned, because we all know that 3 pieces are equal to queen, or let's just say sometimes even better than the queen. Not to mention that after rook e5, I won all these games with rook d7, knight e3, where 3 pieces actually pretty much outplayed these 2 rooks. 2 rooks are equal as the queen, and this is how I won those games with 100%. So it's so nice, and this was the first bad opening mistake that repeatedly happened against me in 2024, and I won 100% with white pieces. Second opening that I played was Scandinavian. You know my Butcher, the Scandinavian course on Chessable. It got lots of popularity. It's pretty huge and pretty severe in terms of refuting those lines. And it's not easy at all. Mainly, I was, like talking and addressing it to the advanced and medium level class players. Anyways, you remember that in Scandinavian, I suggested on Queen A5, which happened to me 49 games in the past year. I actually went for the bishop C4, D3, bishop D2, and with the queen on E2, it's called killer triangle. That's why I called it killer triangle, because once you put the queen on E2, for example, everybody plays queen C7, you have this triangle and triangle of these 6 pieces, and it's incredibly efficient in online practice for white. Of course, you can get butchered Scandinavian on Chessable and learn a lot more about this opening, but let me just show you what happened in most of the games. Bishop f5, and I played h3. I had 18 games like this out of these in total. Queen a5, 49 games in Scandinavian with 81% for white. So what did I do? You know that I always insisted in that course, and I also, you have a couple of like videos about on this channel about the Scandinavian for white. Then you gotta chase away the light square bishop. That has to be the object of your attack. Play f4, threatening f5 to win the piece on the spot. And when they play bishop e7, I was the first one who suggested, and no one ever played a4, which prevents b5 for black, which gives you a shelter for the bishop on a2 in case they want to go with b5, a5, or knight e7, knight c5 to chase away the light square bishop. And here, after you play a5, you want to play the long castle, put your rook on e1 or f1, and go with f5 or simple pawn storm on the king side and kill your opponents. Just like I said, I had with h3 18 games with 81% of success with the white pieces. Third opening. Third opening was e5, and that's there we come to my favorite bishop's opening with the white pieces. Mainly I was using bishop's opening, just like I said. I'm telling you, I didn't only use that. For example, sometimes I play Rylop as Italian and some other openings, but when I played bishop's opening, which is my favorite opening, by the way, I played lots of Patzer's opening here for white, but when I played bishop c4, it's very interesting that after knight c6, knight c3, knight f6, of course that I had other openings and so on, but absolutely the most games I played against this one. So after I played d3, I had 46 games against bishop c5, I was trying to figure out why nearly everyone who plays against bishops opening go for this line, because they don't make a huge difference, especially if those are untitled players or those like who don't know a theory so well, and they don't make the complete difference between not Rai Lopez, but Italian opening, and they just think that's almost Italian opening. Probably he's gonna play knight f3. No, we won't. We go to f4, d6, and out of those 46 games, knight f3, I had 14 games and 40% of the games with the bishop g4. Here I just want to show you the most common way of beating up these guys. I play h3. In the course, I give knight f4, chasing away the dark square bishop. But for blitz practice, I like h3 and works perfectly fine. Queen f3, knight d4, queen g3, and you cannot even imagine how happy they are when they take here, king here, this one. I always take on g7, rook f8, because I'm threatening mate on f7 and rook. F takes, d takes, bishop g5, bishop e7, rook f1, and we gotta stop here, but I really have to tell you that white is better in this position, and I nearly won all my games. I lose some games here and there, but those are like just a few games, just like I said, here and there. Mainly, for example, in this position, I played 14 games. Actually, not everyone played this move, so I played 9 games and I won 8 games. So that's a pretty huge percentage of wins with the white pieces in something that is your common, like reaction against common opening, and e5 is on this level very common, and that's what I can suggest you. And of course, most of these guys, they can't move the knight because of bishop f7. They just go with a queen d7, then you take on f6 and you kill these guys and manage to win these games. The number 4 opening that I'd like to show you is a French opening. French opening, I always go for d4, d5, and here I play my favorite knight c3 move. And now I want to show you, so I'll show you what's my favorite opening against French, and I just have to tell you that speaking of the percentage of the games played by black with knight f6, which is Steinitz opening, and bishop b4, which is Winnerer opening, it's almost the same. 141 for Winnerer and 137 games for Steinitz. When they play Steinitz, I had so much success with my favorite. We used to call it Halden variation, but not anymore. It's Perunovic, because officially I'm the guy, highest rated guy, who used this opening in the practice. The whole Serbian team is now using this opening and winning all the games. It's incredible how in this, I can easily say Perunovic line or Butcher's line. Actually, I like Butcher's line. Queen h5, I won most of my games. So it's very interesting. After queen h5, majority of my opponents played c5. And after I played knight f3, they went for knight c6. Look at this. I had 20 games with c takes d4, knight takes d4, and the guys who played knight c6 were won with knight e6. It's funny. It's blitz, of course. I'm not telling you this is gonna happen in your over the board games, but it's nice feeling to know that I played against GMs and IMs and they keep repeating mistakes like this. And of course, when they play queen e7, it's funny that I go with the knight e5, and most of them, in complete desperation, resign immediately. 20 games in 2024 I had like this. So not in total, not in my life, in 2024. And finally, against knight e6, I had 16 games. And by the way, this is funny. Everyone who plays French, he's supposed to break the pawn chain with c5 and play knight c6. And I had 16 games. This is 6th move, and black is already lost. Incredible. So you play knight g5, they go queen e7, you go knight b5, stretching this queen on both sides of the game, and when they play g6, you play queen f3. Simply, I know you actually can find this video on my channel, knight d4, you go with the knight d6 check, If the queen takes, you first make intermediary and win the queen. That's how I won few games. But of course, everybody plays who's good. King d8, knight f7, this one, and queen c3. Fun fact, I had 17 games with this one, and out of these, 13 games out of this one, and I actually won 11, one drew, and I lost one. Of course, you sometimes blunder or sometimes you simply, but you're winning in this position. It's fun fact that you're actually threatening to play bishop g5 to trap the queen. You're also threatening to win the rook. All these good players who already go into this position, they play bishop g7, don't take the rook, play bishop g5, play f4, and a few days ago I had a game like this. I'm threatening the knight, played king b8, I played and connected these pawns and destroyed my opponent. So just like you see, it's a very nice common like mistake by black players in this Steinitz opening. Speaking of something else apart from these four openings that we've seen, let's go for Caro-Kann. Interesting enough, Caro-Kann was the second most played opening against me, against e4. I played so many times against Caro-Kann, and I mainly went for advanced variation. I say I mainly because sometimes I like to try out some other openings, such as pan of attack, or maybe two knights. Caro-Kann, you can find it on the channel, always very interesting and resourceful. But I played 258 games, e5, bishop f5, and my favorite, Tal's variation with h4. After I played h4, so listen to me, 258 games in Tal's variation. So after h5, I applied both. I applied bishop d3, which is absolutely the best move in this position, and just for fun, for blitz, I used the caveman attack. I never did the caveman attack on the channel. Maybe we can consider that. With the caveman attack, I had 72%. What's the point of the caveman attack? Hey, buddy, you can play e6. And it's already also interesting that when this happens, in 60 games, I had queen b6 reaction, which means 90% of the guys played queen b6 against me. And when I played bishop d3, look at this. Now I'm just going to give you stats. Here, queen d4, which was considered to be the refutation, happened in 60% of the games. And I'll show you. In 6 games, I had bishop d3, queen d3, and queen b2. So I said 6 games, it's considered to be lost after e6. And when they play queen takes here, you just play queen b3, you threaten on c8, queen is trapped, you want to play knight f3, short castle, knight c3 or knight bd2, and win the queen on a1. In the meantime, you're just threatening to take on b7 and to mate the king on e8 with the queen c8. That's how I won 6 games. Then another fun fact, I played queen a6 in 5 games, only 15% of reactions by black. I always play queen h3, threatening mate in 1. And when they play 6, I play knight c3. And there is a nice trick behind this move. And I played it in 3 games. The guys played c5, and I went with the knight d5. They can't take it because of checkmate. It's a very funny thing. Of course, no one ever took. They all played queen a5, and then you just have to remember one more move. It's queen c3, and white is winning. So just like I said, it happened in 3 games, and of course that I won those games. And finally, those who after bishop d3 play queen d4, in many books, in many analysis, in many articles, you're going to be courses, you'll be able to find this. This is the refutation of the Cayman attack. Well, maybe for someone, for me, it's not. So you play knight f3, you attack the queen, harass. Now bishop is hanging queen as well. Everyone played queen g4. I played always bishop f5, queen f5, short castle, and it's very interesting. In this position, 11 games I had with the f6 move, which makes 55% of complete reactions by black in this position. So they played f6. And remember, when I played first time this line, Maybe I won, maybe I lost, but I just remembered that I wasn't satisfied with my position, and I realized that something was wrong. Then I checked my analysis, and I realized that on f6 we should be going with amazing c4, going for the center, and so not d takes c4. I apologize. So c4, and you're just going after the d5 pawn and giving up the bishop on g5. So when they take, you take on d5, and when they play after the c takes d5, you play another amazing move, knight c3. Then I have to be honest with you and to tell you that I lost one game and drew one game barely before I learned that I should first play c4, c takes d5, and play knight c3, and then I played 7 games and made 7 wins. So this is another very common opening, especially because Gotham Chess was insisting on playing Caro-Kann, and almost half of the world now plays Caro-Kann. It became so popular, especially for low-rated guys, but you can kill it with the caveman so easily. And finally, I want to show you the 6th opening, very common opening against me when they play Sicilian. I played both, of course, my pattern Butcher the Sicilian and my famous course on Chessable Butcher the Sicilian with a second move knight c3. But I also played, I believe, equal number of games. I believe 300 games. I played knight f3. So when I played knight f3, most of my games and most of my opponents went for d6. I played d4, captures, knight f6, knight c3, and they went for 128 games for the Najdorf variation. Najdorf is played in 60% of the games again on my level online, and on your level it's going to be pretty much the same because Najdorf is the most reliable and probably most aggressive opening from Black's point of view. After that, Dragon is the next. Anyways, after I played bishop c4, of course, that's not the only move. I played bishop g5, I played queen d3, I played f3, which is English attack. I played even Adam's attack with h3, but I went for this Sozin variation so often, and it works perfect. So after e6, bishop e3, b5, 70% of the games where Black was using this, bishop e3, bishop e7, I played queen f3. Look at this. I had 7 games with 100 percentage, bishop e7. They just want to oppose my queen on f3, and looks, everything is cool. Da-da-da-da, bishop e6, you sack your piece, you're winning, and this is how Injic, European champion and Serbian third board, defeated Serbian second board, Alexei Sarana, in Serbian League 2023. So I won. I played 7 games, 7 wins. Then I played against some guy from Germany. Unfortunately, I didn't play in European Blitz Championship. I lost the game. And right after that, I played 2 games against Short Castle here. e5, that's what I played against that German guy. D takes e5, and instead of taking on a8, I was supposed to play knight e6. That's what I did in those 2 games and won both games. And finally, after queen c7, g4, b4, this is the best for Black. Knight e2, bishop b7. I very much like if in this position I just go with this line with knight f4, and everyone thinks there is something wrong about this one. So when they play bishop e4, queen h3, they just win a rook, and everything looks so cool for them. Looks like, wow, we've just won a central pawn, rook on h1, they're lost. g5, knight d7, and g6. It's finally enough. I won 5 games like this. We're down a rook, we're down a central pawn, and still we're completely winning because we're threatening to take on f7, e6 afterwards, even queen h7 in some lines, and white was winning. I just want to show you, this is like additional thing for you because I showed you top 6 openings that I faced against e4. I want to show you one more thing that I faced. It's when I was white and they played Sicilian. All those who played knight c6 against me, I used mainly Portsmouth Gambit. Portsmouth Gambit, you can find it on the channel. It's fantastic. And by the way, this is interesting video because I keep showing you my stats, what did I used to do, and how actually how many games and what's the percentage of the variations and lines and the games that I used it against me, and also based on the files and PGNs and of course analysis that I made on the channel. So Portsmouth Gambit you can find on the channel. B4, most of these guys captures, play d4, d5, e takes, queen takes, I play c4, they take, knight c3, queen a5. And it's very interesting. Then I play rook b1. 3 games I won like this. They took the knight, I play bishop d2, queen a3, d5. And now when they say, okay, but I'm gonna move the knight, so what? Then, buddy, you play bishop b5 check, and you play first, bishop b5, and after this, you play queen c2. And now you threaten queen c8 checkmate, and at the same time, you're just threatening bishop b4 to trap the queen. That's how I won 3 games in these positions. And another thing, after like rook b1, lots of guys, because they pretty much assume that if I sacrifice the knight, I didn't actually do it just like that, that probably there's a reason why I sacrificed the knight. Then they go e6, like they just go normal. I go bishop d2 and played bishop b4. Here I had 5 games. Then you sack your rook on b4, and if you want to learn more about Portsmouth Gambit and how I actually won these games, or to learn a little bit more of this variation, go on the channel, find the Portsmouth Gambit, and check out what to do. I gave you everything with the white pieces. It's time to show you how did I play with the black pieces and what are the most interesting bad opening lines that I killed with the black pieces when I played black. So first of all, when I was black, I played 3 moves. I played French, I played Sicilian, and I played e5. Sometimes I play some Caro-Kann and Scandinavian, but I like Sicilian, French, and e5 the most. Let's go with French opening. In French opening, I faced very often. First of all, I have to tell you that against knight c3, bishop b4, that Portish hook variation, so this is not an opening mistake, but I just want to show you an amazing thing for the blitz. I played 28 games, and until recently I had almost all the wins. Then I lost 2 games, and now I actually have around 87% with the black pieces. Having anything more than 60% with the black pieces is amazing, not to mention 87%. This is a Portish hook line. Anyways, I wanted to tell you that 15% of the guys take on d5, and they go knight f3, knight c6, bishop d3. Here I'm using Nimzowitsch plan, thanks to which I won nearly all my games. So when I say nearly all my games, I'm talking about like the amount of the games, 12 games, and I won 11. So what did I use? I used play bishop d6, bishop g4, queen d7 to play long castle, knight g7, playing long castle. And when they play b4 to play b5, a golden rule is you gotta retreat this knight to e7 or d8. At the moment you cannot. So you play rook d on e8, so on b5 to play knight e8, or knight g6, so on b5 to play knight e7, and then you simply play on the king side. You have such a nice attacking, like chances, and eventually I won most of my games with the black pieces. So this is an interesting plan. You can find somewhere on the channel how to play against boring French, exchange French, and you're gonna like it a lot. Second, very interesting thing is when I play against e4, when I play c5. When I play c5, most of my opponents go for knight f3. But before that, let me just show you what happens against those who played Alapin defense against me. Here I have some specialty that I want to show you now. More like, let me just show you what did happen like in 7 games and I had 7 wins. I played d5. Now you say, so what's so special about this? This is just normal. And then I went for knight f6. It's called Alapin Gambit. I don't want to take it by queen, but I want to pick the moment whether I want to pick it and take it by queen or by knight, but usually we take by knight. In 7 of those games, my opponents went for queen a4, which is one of the engine top move. Then we play knight bd7. Now we want to get the pawn on d5. And they go c4 saying, hey man, I'm up a pawn. And you just have a very bad development. and look at my idea. b5. I'm just going after this lady. Lady takes. Rook b8. They go like this, and then you play e6. I know that at first glance it's looking ridiculous, but believe me, it's amazing line. So you're now down 2 pawns. You absolutely have like 1, 2, 3, 4 pawn islands, and everything looks terrible. But one thing is good about black's game: activity of the black pieces. So after knight c3, bishop d6, knight f3, bishop b7, you threaten to take, castles. I had like this 7 games. Everybody who went for queen a4, they played like this. I just played knight g4, threatening to take on f3 and threatening to take on h2. And when they play h3, da-da-da-da, rucksack. And then after bishop f3, I played knight g5, and most of these guys played queen g2, king g2, queen g5. I played queen h5, and they can't stop checkmate. Amazing line, works fantastic in practice, and be my guest and try it out in your games. And then against knight f3, you know how much I like the dragon. By the way, I have a piece of great news for you. I just signed a contract with the Chessable, so I'm working very hard on the Dragon for Black course, and it's gonna be what you always wanted and expected. So after like c takes, knight f4, knight c3, and then dragon. Sorry, this was knight f. Dragon, I played more than 600 games in the previous year, and 320 games people played bishop e3. In more than 60% of the games, they go for this line. After bishop g7, f3, castles, queen d2, knight c6. It's very interesting. Most of my games, out of 320, 197 games, which means 60% out of those, people went for a long castle, which is called Rouser line against the dragon. And after a long castle, I'm not going to tell you what am I going to cover in my dragon course on Chessable that is going to be released in 6 months from now. But I went for my blitz specialty, knight takes d4. I insist it's a blitz specialty. You can find the video on the channel, and you will find what I'm about to show you and how actually won all these 20 games in the same fashion. After bishop d4, bishop e6, king b1, so you can't play queen a5 because of knight d5. So if queen a5, they just go with the knight d5, and they went. If you take, they first take here. So that's why you play queen c7, h4, rook fc8. So you can now play queen a5, h5, queen a5, threatening rook c3 and queen a2. They take on g6, they play a3, and when I played rook b8, bishop d3, everybody learned up to this moment. The point of the queen on g5 is to avoid b4, since the queen on a5 is threatened. And here I showed you, and I gave you this video, I don't know, somewhere on the channel, you just have to find it, and that's rook c5. I played it 20 times, and I have 90% of the wins. Why do I say 90 and not 100? Because objectively, this is bad. And only 2 guys knew it. One was GM, another one was IM. All my games went like this. Bishop c5, I play b4. They take, I take by rook. And when they play bishop e3, I play knight d5. I'm opening up the bishop, opening up the knight, rook and queen. And no matter what I do, like they take, rook b2, I sack the rook, bishop c3. And if they go like this, it's mate. If they go like this, it's mate. And some guys tried to, for example, after knight d5, go with this, but then rook b2, this one, and rook b1, so it's checkmate on a1. And finally, I just want to show you the last opening that I played against d4, and you know that I play King's Indian and Nimzo. I just chose to show you Nimzo, where in Nimzo variations, I played after d4, knight f6, e4, a6, knight c3, bishop e4. 47 games against me. People went for queen c2, which is called Kasparov's variation. It's almost 30% of the games that I played in the 2024. They went for queen c2. That's also the move that I use with white pieces when I play this with white. And here I had a specialty. Out of those 47 games, I played 8 games only, knight c6, and I had something very interesting in those. I had 7 wins, I lost one. But it's very interesting when they play knight f3, d6. In 5 games, they made a mistake. Bishop g5. I play h6, I play g5, and I play g4. And that's how I won in 5 games, pawn on d4. So many things, so many interesting stuff. Let me just show you the final additional thing in, not Nimzo, but Queen's Indian. In Queen's Indian, I had 3 games with b6. I always play Queen's Indian in a classic fashion, and when they go for a Petrosian's line, I play bishop a6. I never covered this. Actually, I did cover this in one step-by-step for black in the Queen's Indian. So after queen c2, they defend the pawn and they would like to get a full center with e4, bring the bishop back to b7, control e4, knight c3 breaking from the side c5, and couple of guys went for this gambit d5. Not couple of guys, 7 guys in 2024. I captured and played knight d5. And 3 games I played like this, bishop g5, bishop e7, and they just think they're winning because knight is pinned, bishop is pinned, and this one is pinned. No, guys, they're not winning. They're lost, and I won 3 times. To be honest with you, I learned this from one of my first coaches, Grandmaster Slavoljub Marjanovic, who showed me a game that he won like 50 years ago, somewhere, I believe, in some World Junior Championship. Knight takes e3, amazing move. Queen b7, knight c6. Now you're threatening to take the bishop. They first take, you take by king, which is amazing thing. And when they play this, rook b8 and v5. And no one and nothing can stop rook b6, so you win the queen. And that's how it works. I believe you like this refreshing approach. What I showing you like the top most common mistakes by white and black that were used against me online in 2024. What was especially important and interesting is that I actually made this file of the lines and variations that you have uploaded here on the channel, so you can always go check these videos and have these games just like your coach. Best of luck and best of health in 2025. Merry Christmas and see you in 2025, guys. Thanks so much.